Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio Soul Diving Sunday Show with Shelley, Whizin. We love this because we really get to be, it's not woo-woo as a sense. It's about actually being real about life, making good decisions for yourself, and living a yummy, delicious life. She always wants me to say this, and she wants you to say that. Shelley Whizin is the ultimate soul diving guide. She's a founder and CEO of the Soul Diving Institute. You can go to her website, ShelleyWhizin.com. And speaking of yummy delicious, she's the author of What Do You Bring to the Table? A Savory, Sensory, and Inspirational Guide to Living a Yummy, Delicious Life. See, she's also the author of The Healing Journal and The Story of the Magical Baby Grand Piano. So she's also works with people as a transformational life coach. In fact, that's a main focus of what she does. She's got courses on her website. She does individual coaching. So go to her website, ShelleyWhizin.com. So Shelley, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing good because I get the giggles every time I say yummy delicious.
Seriously. I know, that's it. That's the whole
point. But I start giggling. I really
do.
It's like, I'm being yummy delicious.
Are we yummy delicious?
I am.
Yeah, good.
Good. But well, mosquitoes find that now. It's summer, right? And Nancy and I travel and go to parks. Well, I've now learned that mosquitoes think I'm yummy delicious. Some ticks have reasons too, but we don't need to talk about that. But sometimes well, I'm excited about today's conversation. It kind of ties into that.
Yeah.
It's 4th of July is coming up, but we want to talk about independence and what does that mean about authenticity. And it's interesting because when we were young, we just get that wild and free, we can do anything, right? Then life teaches us, well, there's responsibility. So isn't it really at the same time, we want to still have that wild and free thing where you can walk into the woods, but you've got to still make decisions so that you don't get bitten by the ticks. Let's put it that way. So it's responsibility, but we don't want to lose what is the yummy delicious.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And the yummy delicious lives inside of us. Mm-hmm. And we can manifest it on the outside of us. See, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this whole notion of being in the spiritual realm and being in the physical realm. And in the spiritual realm, everything is possible and is happening all at the same time. But if you want to see something manifest in the physical realm, you actually have to do something, and it takes physical steps. Like if you want to go to New York, or like you came to Kansas City, you needed to get into the car, drive for however many hours it was, get out of the car, unpack your things, get into bed. There were several steps you needed to do. In your mind, you could do that all in a moment's flash. You could have already been where you were. Imagine yourself in Kansas City, already been there in the bed, and it happens in a flash. And so manifesting things on a physical realm takes a physical action. So this whole notion of being independent and feeling ourselves independent with a sense of freedom, what does that actually look like in the world? We can feel that way on the inside. We can have that whole realm of independence and freedom and non-judgment and kindness and all of that stuff going on the inside, but how we manifest it on the outside is what matters in the world.
Well, I want to bring up an interesting example. So independence, we start to know what we like and what we don't like as we grow up, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes our tastes will change. Good, right? Because if we stick with not growing, then it's not yummy delicious. Yummy delicious comes from trying the next flavor of cake, that you may think that you don't like, but then you're like, ooh, right? So that's that taking those steps. So it goes beyond your comfort zone, beyond fear, right? Mm-hmm. So these are rational, easy decisions to make when it comes to cake. But I'm going to go to maybe dating. And I wonder, there's a teenager side of us that may do that thing where you're going to go date someone and they're maybe all into this kind of music, oh, I love that kind of music. And maybe you don't. Or, oh, yeah, I'll watch football. I could never pretend that because I haven't a damn clue. And I'd ask him to put classical music on to watch it because it's funny. Men in tights, you know. So I wonder about that with relationships. I think it's one of those examples where here we are inside, we know who we are, what we like, and maybe we're still processing that. I think it's always a nonstop thing. But are we projecting on the outside within our relationships, in the tasks we do? Are we doing it at work? You know, that kind of thing. Or are we always kind of taking our independence and who we are, what makes us us, and giving it away over to somebody else?
Sometimes we do. Sometimes we take this, which is, I always like to use symbols, the remote control.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we give this remote control to someone else and we forsake our independence or our authenticity, and we give it to somebody else because we're not exactly sure of who we are. So we want to comply, or we want to mold ourselves into what we think somebody else wants us to be. So they will say, okay, I like this, and control the different things that they like in us. I know I've certainly done that over my life. When I was young, I was living on a kibbutz, which is in Israel, and I was there for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, this soldier walked into the dining room, and he was like the most handsome soldier I ever saw in my life. And he had a khaki uniform, a red beret, an Uzi on one shoulder, and a guitar on the other. I mean, the image was the epitome of, he's going to serenade me and protect me the rest of my life. I went for the image, but there were many things he didn't like about me. I was American. And then I started giving up so that he would like me. So I started giving this to him early on. And then I'd cry and I'd feel upset and blah, 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 blah. But you don't realize how we're giving up our own integrity when we do that. When we start inching on our values, not situations. We can compromise situations, but when we start compromising our values, we start losing ourselves bit by bit by bit. And in the end, we give this to somebody else for our sense of well-being. And then we get to blame them for us not feeling happy. We get to do that.
Oh, and then you become a control freak, because then you might be the person trying to get people to live according to your thing as a flip side, because don't we go through those extremes?
Yeah.
You did this over here, gave it away. Then you go to the flip side to find you haven't found the balance yet. And you could start trying to control somebody else's. Yeah. I heard something. It was an NPR interview. When we drive, we listen to all these, geeky podcasts. And the gentleman said, he chooses not to look at the word balance. And I've always loved the whole idea of balance. He said, because our brains do this, our hearts and emotions do this, the chemicals, we seesaw from one to the other. So balance is, oh God, we hope we get to the middle. Whereas he says, if we look at how we do things as harmony, like if you're playing a piano, you can play the melody and you can play the chords and the bass. That's kind of how we need to look at it. And I wonder about that, because I thought that was pretty yummy, delicious.
Yeah,
I think harmony is good.
I like that analogy, because if you look at it and something's swinging, right? And balance is here. What is it swinging? No, it's not swinging. It's just flatlining.
Oh, so there's no action like you're talking about.
Right. So it is a swing. It's like the heart and the brain harmony, when they're in what Joe Dispenza calls it incoherence. It's like if you're in a room and you're drumming, you've got a room full of drummers and everybody's drumming to a different beat. There's incoherence. But once you start getting into the beat of the harmony, like you're saying, and of the rhythm, then the brain starts getting into that coherence, and so does the heart. And then they work together. It's when we think something and our heart is in a different, we go against our heart, and we're out of coherence. And then we don't feel very good. We do not feel yummy, delicious. We feel like we've compromised ourselves. We feel like we're not living our authentic self because for the sake of whatever reason or ideology that we've got going on. Sometimes we think we're supposed to be a certain way and we behave that way, but it's not really who we are.
So it's consciousness and action and knowing when to do inaction, right? So,
Right.
I mean, I kind of go to Anne Frank, right? When we look at, we have America as independence. You talk about it in your article, and everyone, the link is up in the show notes. So no matter if you're watching or listening, wherever you're listening through the podcast, it's in the show notes. You talk about, America's got this independence where many countries, you've been to some, we've lived in, different places where independence isn't quite there. And there's a lot of places still suffering from independence, like even women's independence, right? Women's rights. Well, we won't go there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's still issues in this country. We still have slavery going on and human trafficking and a lot of different things in a different way than the historical slavery. But, there is, having this, like for us women to have a right to vote, it's very important. So if we don't take action, one day we're going to wake up and it's going to be gone. You know what I mean? So I love what you're saying about the action, because that's even just for us as individual people. If we just keep going la, la, la through life and we need to make money to survive, we need to do this to provide, and we're not actually being conscious about our individuality, who we are, we're not actually happy, like you're saying. Then we get crabby and we blame others, right? So there's a consciousness that has to be in harmony with the action.
Right.
And you're allowed to take non-action, like, hey, that's not my battle. Like
Right.
You're allowed to not take on every battle, because there's that too. So that's what's important about knowing yourself, even for time management, for not being used to a point, right? Because people do that in their jobs. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
People will stay overwork all the time, not get compensated, not get the credit due, and then they get pissy and quit. And somebody lost a good employee because no communication, no, you know what I mean? And not taking a stand for themselves.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's being
You kind of
able.
got me all riled up now, Shelley.
Okay, good. I like getting you riled up, Lisa.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's consciousness.
It is consciousness. But what we're talking about is consciousness. I mean, that little baby 3-step formula that I have, it's being aware is the first step in changing anything in your life. It's being aware of what it is you are doing, how you are being, how you are feeling, how you are thinking, and what beliefs are holding you back from feeling that yummy, delicious life, from feeling incoherent in coherency with your heart and your mind and your brain, because and your gut. Those elements are very important. And then once you're aware of it, then you can choose. You can choose another belief. See, I was thinking about this the other day. I think that as human beings, we are so fortunate because we have the ability to believe. We have the ability to believe in anything we want to believe in. And how
and people do. There's some, some people, the Flat Earth Society, there's one, sorry.
There you go. There you go.
That's what they want to do.
That's right. That's right. So we have the ability in our brain to believe something. So as an independent human being, because we are all independent human beings that are all on this earth together at this time. So in a sense, we can say we are one because we are one energy, we are one, consciousness. There's a mass consciousness in the world. And we are individuals because we're individual bodies. We've been put in these individual avatars, these bodies of ours that walk around for us, with us, doing our life experiences. With us, I mean our souls, our non-physical consciousness that inhabits this being. There's a non-physical consciousness that inhabits every single being. And when we die, that consciousness is no longer in the body. It goes back out into the atmosphere, the mass consciousness that we don't see. We don't really know what it looks like, or whatever. Some people who've died and come back give us some glimpses.
Oh man, that's a trip. That's one of my biggest rabbit holes, is the people who pass and come back. I dig into that because they all say it's about happiness, pure happiness, But I want to go back to what you're saying too, because we have these choices that we make, right? And it's so important. Anne Frank, because I didn't finish on that. Anne Frank had very few choices, but she made a choice to do what she could in that moment, no matter how bad it was, and chose positive belief over negative belief. So you're talking about the belief.
Right.
She chose positivity. She wrote stuff down, no matter how scared she was, how hard it was. She chose positive. And so we could do that in our own lives. And sometimes I wonder, like, maybe we come back. I think that's kind of cool if we do in different ways and whatever. Maybe I'll come back as an alpaca. I don't know. Why not?
I can pet you.
Okay. Yeah. But so they do spit, and I promise not to spit on you. And I love camels, so that goes well.
Yes,
but,
they spit too. Yeah.
Yeah, but to do what we want to do here, it's like when you meet people and they go, I don't know what I want to do. And I go, like, I don't know how to fit everything in, right? So I have to always prioritize and list and list and list. What would be the first thing people can do now? And I know you do this with your Yummy Delicious Life. You've got a whole program on your site. What would be the first step for people to take to start going, who am I? Because I wonder if we need to self-check ourselves throughout life, because life changes. We go through different experiences which shape and mold us. We have DNA stuff. I know that happens from not, woo-woo side past lives, but there is, we look at our ancestry in DNA to see if our ancestors had cancer or heart disease or diabetes, to check ourselves, right? It comes through in our DNA. I believe there's other stuff coming through our DNA. That's just me. And I know that there's groups of people with real, like, good, solid scientific brains doing that kind of stuff. So, but we have a choice to reverse the negativity. We have a choice in all of that.
Yeah.
So what would be the first steps for someone to say, okay, I need to actually know who the hell I am? Like, honestly, because you can't be independent if you don't know who you are.
Right. Well, first, I would go through the 3 B's that I have. I would go through the beliefs. What beliefs are running you? Examine. I would do some self-examination. What beliefs do you believe in? What beliefs do you hold to be true? What beliefs hold you back? What beliefs thrust you forward? What beliefs are going on in your being? I think that's a really basic place to start, because everything we do in life is based on one of those beliefs. Every single,
whether it's factual or not, it doesn't matter, because a belief is a truth to your body. So if you believe you're overweight, whether or not you are.
That's true. That's true. And overweight meaning for your size, shape, whatever.
Yeah, not even, yeah.
So that's subjective too. But what do you believe is beautiful? What do you believe? What do you believe about being human? What do you believe about God? What do you believe about the universe? What do you believe about consciousness? What do you believe about all of those things? And I would list a whole bunch of stuff to say, what do you believe? What runs you? What is your programming? What program runs your life? So
are you on Windows 8?
Exactly. What program runs your life? And what are the aspects? What code are you using for each one of those programs? And change. If something doesn't feel good to you, feel yummy, delicious, what is it that's not yummy, delicious? And what is it that is yummy, delicious? What makes you feel yummy. What is it that
Yeah.
makes you feel yummy?
Mhm.
You know, and then start finding evidence for that instead of finding evidence for what you don't like, because we could find evidence for what we don't like all day long. I mean, Anne Frank,
Oh,
she had
yeah.
every right to feel depressed, to feel horrible, to hate, and being locked up like she was, but being safe and locked up, which is never knowing if you're ever going to be caught. I mean, talk about post-traumatic stress, whatever, that's a lot. And then eventually, yeah, but it's what drives you, what beliefs drive your program.
I like that. I like that because I think the beliefs, I mean, like we're saying, it's factual to us, whether it's negative or positive.
Yeah.
It's factual. And if you're out of touch with your beliefs, then
Yeah.
you're doing the swinging thing. You're on that swinging bridge,
Right.
and not, I mean, the actions go, you're not controlling the actions.
Right.
So we do get to be control freaks a little bit, don't we?
Yeah. Well,
I'm a Virgo. I want to be a control.
Well, good. We need to be control freaks of our own behavior and our own self and our own beliefs. I think that's really important, which is that second B, which is behavior, because everything we do in life, because it's based on a belief, it rules how we behave, how we either react or how we respond. Responding to me comes from a sense of independence, comes from a sense of knowing who you are, not trying to prove to anybody that, you're more than whatever. And reacting comes from a place, I believe, that comes from a sense of inadequacy, that we're not enough. So we have to react in defense of something. We defend something. And then we start looking for the evidence so the ego can be right. Oh, that ego wants to be right so much.
Oh, it does.
We will find evidence to prove us right because of pride. And then the anger will be the rulers. And those are the beliefs. Do you believe pride? I mean, I had an ex-husband who believed that pride and anger were more important than love. And put those as priorities because it made him so powerful, but love is that emotion that allows us to permeate all those other ones.
It transcends.
Right.
It does. It's bigger. And for some reason, we have the negative first as human beings. That is, I almost feel like that's why we're here on Earth, is to overcome that, is the negative.
Yeah.
Because there's the fight or flight, stay in the middle, play dead, whatever you can choose those. But the true harmony comes when you don't have to do any of that. You know what I mean? You can actually truly live. Now, if you're in a situation that you need to fight or flight or play dead, do it. You know what I mean? And that's part of your independence. Like, it's like just simple things. Like, I remember friends getting really mad because we didn't go to some event with them. That meant something to them. But if we had, it would have set us back time. And so, it was, and just, we really couldn't. And we knew if we went there, we weren't going to be able to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? In regards to timing. And it's of a major deadline thing. It was a very serious thing. And they got really pissed. And I thought, wow, there's times to really sacrifice that is something really important. And if what we were going through was really, 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 really important,
right,
like really important. And I was just like, wow, okay. And I didn't, you do what you need to do for yourself at times. And I think that we forget that, and we will keep doing things in our life without using the word no. And I think women have a very hard time until we learn this, that we will give our time to others all the time. It is okay to say no. You can volunteer for things, but you don't have to be the volunteer every single day for something.
Or
you know what I mean?
For all the other volunteers. And
right. You know what I mean? You can do things, but I feel like independence comes from having the right to say no having
Yes,
a responsibility to yourself to keep yourself happy. If you don't want to go out that night, don't go out.
exactly. Honor
You know,
yourself. That's
right.
for yourself for your highest and greatest good. And when you do that, you honor yourself for the highest and greatest good and everyone else concerned. And the people that are unhappy or get mad if you don't decide to do what they want you to do, it's this, like, wait a minute, you're taking the control back. You're
Yep.
you're not letting me go, you know, you go
Yeah.
here, go here. And some people don't like that. Well, that's their growth problem.
Yeah. And I think that is something very interesting about the individuality, independence. The relationships in your life is really a big part of that because you don't want to, I think it was Khalil Gibran who says a relationship is a tree. You have, you come together, the harmony comes in the trunk, but you have your branch, they have their branch, and then you have your branch together, right? And you need to give each other room for growth. And whether I don't, if it's a business relationship, I don't care what kind of relationship, that let people be individuals too.
There's a word that's really important, I think, in our own evolution, and that's allow. When we allow for people to have their own human experience without
Yeah.
us thinking that they have to have it this way or that way or that way or this way. Of course, when we see people who are hateful and who
Yeah.
do hateful crimes and who hurt other people because they think they're better than somebody else, they're trying to take away that person's freedom.
Mhm.
And they believe, again, it goes back, everything, I'm telling you, everything goes back to belief.
Mhm.
They believe they are better than somebody else. They believe that because of the color of their skin or their gender or their religion or anything that makes them better, believe that theirs is better than anybody else's, which gives them the right to be condescending, which gives them the right to feel entitled, which gives them the right to be rude and unkind and
I'm
hateful.
trying to keep my middle finger down right now.
Yes, exactly. So,
Yeah.
independence is an interesting thing because how far do we take it? I mean, my beliefs are, for the highest and greatest good, which means coming from the heart,
Mhm.
not coming from the head, not coming from ego that
Mm.
wants to be right all the time and wants to be the best or wants to be better than.
Or did your belief come from you, or did it come from what's been handed down
Exactly.
generationally? Because I think when we look at prejudice and racism and all of this, it's something that's been handed down. Traditions are all great, but not if they're wrapped in cruelty.
Exactly.
And that includes animals. I mean, really, we don't need to,
Yeah.
kill an animal to go, yay, yay,
Yeah,
yay.
exactly. Right.
We can change. It used to be, let's kill this animal and drink the blood. And now we have that spirit of the animal. Now we can go, let's look at the majestic and this, strength of this animal and embody the qualities and learn from the qualities. We don't need to kill it to
Right.
embody it, And I
Right.
like you use two words, evidence and evolution. Two words that I think are very good. The E words. You went from the B's to the E's.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna make an
what is
yeah,
truth? Yeah, if you're gonna have these beliefs,
right.
start looking at, are they true? How true? What are you really like? I wonder how many people stand up for things that are evil and really realize that they're carrying something from somebody else. As we turn 18, 16, whatever age, we get to be independent individuals and become adults. It's part of being an adult is to start really we
You're
formulate this
absolutely
stuff younger, right? Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What beliefs were passed down to you and what
Mhm.
beliefs are yours? Like you said, what beliefs are yours? What beliefs are passed down? And have you taken the time to discern whether or not you want to continue as you
Yeah.
get older to believe in the things that were passed down to you?
Mhm.
It's an interesting thing when you're indoctrinated into a society of hatred because like well, I don't want to mention anybody's movement or whatever, but there is a group of people that bring their children up to hate another group of
Yes.
people.
Oh, there's many of those all
Yes,
around the world, actually.
right.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so they're, when they're 5 or 4 years old, they have television shows, and I've seen this, Mickey Mouse type of television shows where they sing about killing the group of people that they want to hate. And so they bring them up,
It's
and then
brainwashing.
they reward them when they go kill the blank, kill the blank.
Oh,
They
that happens
reward
in
them.
Africa too. Some
Right.
of the militias and stuff. Yeah.
So we are indoctrinated, we are conditioned as children to believe what the bigger group believes, or the parents believe.
Oh,
That-
yeah. And don't be the individual.
Right,
Oh, no, it's the majority rules. That's not true. That
right,
is not true, because artists are always bucking the system.
right.
And that's what art is there for. I encourage people to get more into the arts so that you understand that's true individualism.
Right.
Is when an artist doesn't, when they keep the integrity of their art, whether people like it or not, if they do it for a response, like you, to make you feel something, whether you like that feeling or not, it worked. you know
Yes,
what I mean?
right,
So
exactly.
I kind of feel like I always turn to the arts, because it's the true individualism of that,
Well,
and gets past the brainwashing.
that's right. And the arts bypass the critical mind. So the arts goes straight to the heart, whether it's music or whether it's physical art or, creative art, whatever kind of art, dance, it crosses, it bypasses the critical mind and goes straight to the right side of the brain where you feel emotions. You start to feel things, you're impacted by what you feel and what you see, your senses. Your senses are being stimulated. And I think that's what art does. It helps. When we were producing this musical play about teen suicide years and years ago, these kids would come and see it. They were really mad about going on a field trip to some stupid musical play, right? They were from halfway houses and residential treatment centers, and really angry kids who wore spikes around their neck. And, they were just, I don't want to go to no stupid play, right?
Yeah.
By the time the play ended, these kids were crying. They ended up crying because through the music, through the storyline, through the art, as you said, they were able to see themselves without personalizing it. They could see themselves in these different characters. They could see themselves in how they faltered, how they thought, and they could see redemption.
Yeah,
But
and pain, the acting out with kids like that with, I don't want to do this stupid thing. That comes from pain. I really believe that. I wonder, we talk about how much mental health issues, there just seems to be all kinds of mental health issues going on that weren't there before. Autoimmune and mental health, which I think there's going to be some connection down the road as well. But I'm wondering about this. Obviously, mental illness has been around for centuries, but not as widespread, it doesn't seem like, unless we just didn't know. I'm wondering how much of not doing the self work, the self-care, self-knowledge, self-awareness work, right? Which you used to look at that was egotistical, right? So that also, when you look at, we've been to historic buildings owned by Quakers, and they didn't have paintings and portraits of themselves in houses, because that was vain. You don't look in a mirror, it's vain, right? It's vanity. And especially for women, you were kind of taught not to. We were livestock basically back then, right? So I wonder about how much survival has played into how we are now. That's why I talk about that DNA coming down and coming down. That I feel like we've been carrying a lot of crap over years, like hard crap that when you're busy in survival mode, you're surviving. You're not thinking about thriving. If you're going through a genocide or you're going through anything like that, right? Like, real serious stuff. And then now we've got things a bit easier. Sure, we have some really horrific history in all countries. How much of that is there now on our shoulders? Wow. We went from surviving to fast food. Yeah, yeah. I don't think we had that much time in between. You know what I mean? And understanding how to um actually understand how to live, because everyone was surviving. Then things started to prosper even through war, right? World War II made a lot of money. And then it just like now we're having martinis at 4. And then next thing you know, the martinis became McDonald's, And so now we're in such a fast-paced society where the value of understanding true simple pleasures have actually gone. So is our mental health, because our awareness is gone. Does that make, I know that's trying to
Makes
make it make
sense.
sense. It's
Yeah.
like if you win the lottery, lose all, the majority of the people who win a lottery lose all their money
Right.
within a year or two, because they haven't got that knowledge to understand financial planning. And
Right.
yeah, here's your, take a couple grand and go be stupid in Vegas, but then
Right.
stop.
Right. Right. Exactly. So how independent are we really? I mean, we are products of our society. We are products of our families. We are products of conditioning. We are products of
I don't want to be a byproduct.
no.
I want to be my own product.
That's why self-reflection is really important. It really is important, because even when we're in survival mode, we're not really stopping to say, well, how did I get here? What do I feel? How can I get out of this situation? Well, in order to get out of a situation, you have to understand what got you into the situation to begin with, and what was the mindset and the thinking that transpired within us to get us into that survival mode. And then are we victims of it? What do we
Sometimes you really are.
And sometimes you really are. What do
and
we
how are you going to get out?
Exactly. Do we believe we can get out, or are we succumbing to the idea that we can't get out? I mean, the last several weeks, my adopted papa died. He was a
I'm sorry.
Holocaust survivor. And he was 98 years old when he died. And a survivor. I mean, he was a survivor, and the things that he saw were so horrific, you can't even imagine. So yes, he was a definite victim. So, and he saw his whole family being killed in front of his eyes. So there are things that we cannot stop outside of us. The only thing we can do is deal with how we think about it and what we believe about it for us to be able to survive. Elie Wiesel was another example. And there were others who said, that movie Life is Beautiful was based on telling his child how beautiful it was outside, and too bad he's not tall enough to look out the window, that kind of thing. And so it's, how do we perpetuate beliefs that keep us wanting to live, and allowing thoughts and beliefs that say no.
I actually believe that we get into a survival mode, and maybe very necessary, right? You look at this country right now, our middle class, the middle class economy is falling. So a lot of people, I mean, really smart people, AI's coming in. We've just covered a lot of this recently on a documentary and interview and things. And you're getting people who've worked hard, did everything, went to college, paid off their student loans, did the work, the American dream, right? And getting, evicted because they got laid off because a computer took over their job.
Exactly.
But that's where, so then there's survival mode happens, which absolutely, you better have the survival kick in, right? You better have that thing happen. And I wonder about our brains, if we, even in that really desperate time, look beyond survival and go to thrive. And simple beauties, like simple things like a flower means something. I'm not saying, you need to think about winning the lottery. Like when you're like maybe really in a desperate financial situation, don't start just daydreaming about the lottery. but go a little bit higher above survival in a way. I almost feel like if we're almost limiting ourselves because of the situation that you're in at this moment. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Mm,
And do we succumb to it? I
mm,
mean, and then when push comes to shove, how does our creativity kick in?
mm,
How do we break through to possibilities that we
mhm,
didn't think about before?
mm.
And so again, it goes back to, well, do we believe that it's possible to break through the limit of possibilities? Do we
Yeah.
believe it?
Mhm.
We believe it's possible to break through these limited possibilities or our situation and make things better? Or do we believe we're just, that's the way it is,
Mhm.
can't do anything about it, and I just need to allow and surrender to what is, and there's no way out? I mean, what form do these beliefs take on, and how do they thrust us forward and deeper into our life? And what does it all mean? Is it
Mhm.
just to get something in life, or is it the quality of life that we're living in the
Mhm. Yeah.
getting?
Yeah.
So I believe it's the journey. And, sometimes we get stuck in the muck, and allowing that to be okay for a while is okay. It's when
Mm,
we start judging ourselves and feeling bad about it that we get in even deeper, because
mhm.
we're not allowing the human experience to be what it is, a human
And you're
experience.
allowed to screw up. You're
Yeah.
allowed to do something bad. Um, like I said this on a show with someone else, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble with, people. People do bad things. There are very cruel people. But there's a reason why. I always go, there's a reason why. You can't, just the most horrific people that commit such horrendous, kill people, all that kind of stuff, right? But there's a reason why. What was, there's I always go like, nobody just decided, hey, I'm going to be an axe murderer. You know what I mean? It
A
didn't
little
just,
baby. Oh, look at the little baby.
yeah, can I go
Yeah.
to college for that? No, it wasn't, that's not what happened. So there's real reasoning. And yeah, we don't want them in our society around us and hurting our friends and family or anything, but there's a reason why. And I feel like society as a whole, we've got to work on ourselves individually. But I do really think like the work you're doing, I think it's something that we need to do as a society is start to look at it societally and individually. Obviously, that's a very in if we all did our individual work, we'd probably have a better society.
Mhm,
But I think we just brush things off as black and white, this and that. Oh, this person's an axe murderer, but we keep forgetting why and trying to fix the why and give those tools.
mhm.
You look at kids, and by the time kids could go through some really terrible conditioning, brainwashing out all those things we want to talk about, none of us want to. By the time they're 20, they could be so messed up by what's happened in their past, or their childhood without society stepping in. That's kind of where I'm at. I just feel like independence is not just your own. It's about we have a responsibility as independent human beings to help the others and
Mhm.
to kind of work together for a better society on a global front.
Right. Because we feed each other. We
Yeah.
elevate, we have the ability and the possibility and the opportunity to feed each other nourishment, to feed each other
Hmm.
positive things that help us feel better. To me, that
Yeah.
better is another one of those B words that just makes us okay, that that there's progress in our life. If we feel,
Mhm.
I know when my clients feel from before they talk to me to after they talk to me, and I say, how do you feel now? And they go better. I'm like, success.
Good. That's awesome.
Yes. Because when we feel better, what do we feel? Better than we did before.
And feel more loving and
And
happier to
all
other
of the
people.
above, all of the above. And
Happier to other people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to feel better, giving ourselves permission to be
Mm.
happy and permission to have a good life and permission to feel okay, even though people are suffering on the other side of the world or next door.
Yeah.
You know?
They're
And
suffering,
something,
and the people I know, like the poorest people I know, will give you more than someone who isn't on that level, you know.
yeah,
They'll go share their food with you, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Here's our last meal, but please come join us,
right,
you
right,
know.
exactly.
It just uh, yeah, and independence is responsibility, but it's a very delicious responsibility
Yes,
once you step into it, you know. It's when we ignore the independence and we ignore the responsibility that we get ourselves into all kinds of doo-doo. I don't
right.
want the doo-doo.
Yeah,
It's
no, me
stinky.
too. Yucky,
I don't
yucky,
like it. We want the yummy. That's right. Oh, yummy, delicious.
not the yucky. We
Tell
don't want
tell
the
everybody
yucky.
about your yummy, delicious course on your site, and everyone, ShelleyWhizin.com, and I'll have a link there and everything in the show notes.
Yeah, so I've created just a darling 6 module online self-study course, talk about going inside with yourself. And it's called Create a Yummy Delicious Life. And we talk about these basic principles, bringing you into what you believe, how you behave, who you become, because they're just all tied together. And I give you this formula that you can change literally anything in your life by being aware, by making a choice, by taking action. So you kind of break everything down. I like to break it down into simple steps that people can take and apply. The most important,
Mm,
when you apply something, if it's too complicated, we won't apply it.
no.
I can use myself as a perfect example of that. But when it's simple for me, I go, oh, all I have to do is that, that, and that. Okay, I'm going to do that, that, and that. And it helps me to shift and change my
Mm,
mindset. And yeah, I've got some other programs on there called a 30-day mindset shift, which you get 30 days of reminders of just things to think about that make you feel better. They
that's
make you
awesome.
mindful of yourself. And
Hmm.
I just want to give people tools that they can use in order to feel better in their lives and be happier and get to where they want to go faster
Hmm.
than not. I like to
No.
find accelerated ways of getting to where you want to go.
Yeah, because it's life is short, man.
It's
We don't
short,
have dilly-dally time unless it's something fun and we're eating cake.
right?
I
And
want
so,
that chocolate cake.
yeah, yeah.
Ooh, I had the best carrot cake last night.
Oh, you did. I love carrot cake.
Oh, it
Cake
was
one all
good.
the time, huh?
Oh, carrot
Oh,
cake is good.
yeah,
Carrot cake is
carrot cake is
very good.
good, and it's healthy. It's a vegetable.
It is the whole thing. They even have a little carrot on the icing.
See, there you go.
It's just proof. It's the evidence.
That's
There it
right.
is. We're
Look
back
at
to
it.
the evidence. And the evolution of my weight from it. Well, I walk
Yeah,
the dogs, so that's
there
all
you
good.
go. There you go.
Shelley, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Everybody, Shelley is here every first Sunday. Go to ShelleyWhizin.com. Keep up with us at BigBlendRadio.com. And here's to independence and,
Yes.
happy living.
Happy
Thank
living.
you.
Yes,
A yummy, delicious life. See?
that's right. Happy living a yummy, delicious life.